Hello, welcome to another episode of Dan Really Likes Wine with Pick and Pay, and welcome to a rather special engagement because today, while I am in my cellar, I have a guest who is sitting very happily in his cellar and is waiting to share some wine with me. And the wine that he'll be sharing is wine that is rather close to his heart because it is wine that is made by his particular family. It is an estate just outside of Wellington. And I have to be honest, it's an estate that I've got slightly mixed feelings about because I've been out there many times. It is a beautiful, beautiful estate. But I can honestly say I cannot once remember leaving or more technically going to bed because the gentleman who looks over the estate is a very large character who's probably best known for playing Hagrid in the Harry Potter movies once his beard had grown. But when he's not playing Hagrid, when he's not looking back over a marvellous rugby career, he is overseeing a wine farm called Welbedacht and the Schalk Burger and Sons wine label. He has a voracious thirst for wine. He is also extraordinarily knowledgeable. And together with his son Tian, the part-time drummer in a local Wellington rock band, they come up with some fabulous, fabulous wine. Tian is one of the sons in Schalk Burger and Sons. The other is our guest this week. And so it gives me a great deal of pleasure to say hello to a very dear friend of mine from the world of rugby. Hello, Schalk Burger Jr.
How's it, Dan? Long time no see. Lovely to have it virtually, and we obviously got a few wines we've got to go through today. So lovely to catch up in this way. Nice way to start the week.
But what are your recollections like from the wine side? Do you remember the first glass of wine on the farm and discovering the true majesty of where you were growing up?
Obviously, me and my brother were pretty close together in age. We differ just over a year, but I remember us sort of, nowadays, you refer to, family brides as, mythical, the Burger family brides. But back in the day, we always used to be barmen. We used to go there. And I think from age 11, me and my brother 10, we always used to taste wines on the side. So it's always been a part of what we've done. No wonder that sometimes by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, both of us had to have an afternoon nap. It wasn't because we were so busy running around on the farm or playing outside with our mates. We probably just overdid the whole wine tasting thing, at the bar. Obviously fun recollections. We obviously, as you mentioned, love a good old story, but more than that, we like sharing a beer or a glass of wine, whatever's going. We're very good socially, the Burgers are. So it's lovely to sit here, see you again. I know you love your wine, and we'll take you through a few of our wines just in a minute.
We're going to open one in just a second. Before we do that, let's find out about the broader Schalk Burger palate. Your brother Tian, very much part of the day-to-day running of the estate. Your dad's still there as well. Is wine a regular part of life in the Burger household with you and your wife? And is there a particular wine that you gravitate towards?
Big time, it's part of the wine. Obviously, my sister's also involved. She does some of the distribution up in Johannesburg. So I'm actually the only Burger family member that's not involved actively on the farm. But I'm good at drinking it, as you can imagine. Yeah. So look, I'm always looking for something new as well. So new challenges, new blends, something new. I do like a cab. We've got Cab on the menu here today. And then, it's nice. The nice thing about wine is everyone's got his individual palate. Everyone tastes something different. Everyone likes something different. And I think so often in wine, we all want to, sort of taste the same thing and like the same wines. But at the end of the day, it's your taste and what you like, and it's unique to you. That's what I enjoy about wine. At the end of the day, in South Africa, we almost sometimes want to make wine too posh for what it is. Growing up on a wine farm, you realize there's nothing more than a workshop. Except you're working with grapes. I love the whole process. I love drinking wine. And I think all of us do enjoy a good story in and around wine. And that's what we've got today.
Well, let's have a glass on that first wine. A big thank you to your sister, Renee, who arranged for this wine to be delivered. And the first of the ones that she did have dropped off is the Cabernet Sauvignon that you mentioned, some 2016. From Welbedacht, and if you have a very close look, you can see on the label there, that's the old farmhouse, and it's just a beautiful part of the world to go and visit, and even more so when you have a glass in hand. So pour yourself some Cab there, if you will, Mr. Burger, if you haven't already.
I've done already.
You mentioned that you like Cabernet Sauvignon. What is it about the grape in general and this wine in particular that does it for Schalk Burger Jr.?
Look, obviously we grew up in Wellington on the wine farm, The terroir we've got there is decomposed granite, and I think the Cabernet suits what we've got down there. So I like it. It's robust on the same side. It's got soft tannins. It's fruity. So I suppose if you look at the Burger family, all of them is kind of robust in their own way, with a softer side. Big man, my big old man, you see him picking up a guitar. It looks like a full guitar, looks like a ukulele, but somehow his hands work around it. So maybe it's something to do with that.
Yeah, I think robust, strong, and elegance to it, and still capable of packing a punch. It's very much a burger in a glass, really.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we can take you through the wine if you want to go in a bit more detail. I mean, the area where we're from is obviously reasonably hot. We feel when you smell this wine, you taste it. I think ripe plums, black currant, with a bit of pepper on the back of the tongue, and then, as I mentioned, it's got nice soft tannins. So it's a nice wine to drink.
It's particularly good wine as we come into the winter months, because it's got a lovely warmth to it as well as you drink it. Also great wine to celebrate with. Do you have particular memories of your rugby days, of a great bottle or two celebrating maybe a World Cup win, or another equally important rugby match?
Plenty. I mean, I played in a very successful Springbok side during a period of time. We won a lot of, one World Cup, and we obviously won a few other things. And red wine was our go-to drink after a big victory. Every other victory was, a few beers, or maybe a small glass of wine. But our big thing was to sit down and absolutely hammer a few glasses of red wine. And red wine's got that effect on you. If you drink too much of it, you lose all sort of inhibition. You can testify to that. We've got plenty of good stories, especially abroad. We've got plenty of stories. Because in South Africa back in the day, it was quite difficult. You were well recognized everywhere, and you had to sort of stick to the hotel. But other countries where maybe New Zealand, that is a little bit more like a village, a bit smaller than South Africa, but less people. We've gone on plenty of good vendors on red wine.
I was about to ask you about traveling around the world. New Zealand's got a terrific wine culture. Their Sauvignons and Pinot leading a strong array. Australia, some great wine. You spent time in Argentina, and then of course in Europe. Where's been the best wine destination for you on your rugby travels?
Like wherever I go, I try and indulge in the local wines. I think the thing that stands out, especially over the years as the Rands weakened, is how good quality of wine we've got for what we pay. We've got the best in the world. You go across to the UK. In the UK, you predominantly end up drinking a lot of French wines. I quite like when a new destination came on board. Like when Melbourne came on board, all of a sudden on my off day there was a new wine valley to explore in the Yarra Valley. So, I mean, I love wine wherever. You're obviously in Argentina, we drink a lot of Malbec for obvious reasons. They're big meat eaters. They need the Malbec to wash it down in acidity to break up a kilogram of meat you just had. So, look, I've got, I like New Zealand. I like Australia. Probably favorite part in Australia I had, or best experience I had, was down in Swan River. In Argentina, I've only ever played a test match in Buenos Aires. I've never been able to play a test match in Mendoza. So I've never done a wine tour there, but I've had copious amounts of Malbec.
You've missed out. I've spent some time in Mendoza. It's kind of Stellenbosch at the foot of snow-capped mountains with people speaking Spanish all around you. So well worth a visit.
Yeah, I mean, all the rugby players who played there. So listen, it's the first time I've been at Stellenbosch, but Stellenbosch is at altitude because everyone got so tired playing in the first 20 minutes, they forgot they were at altitude.
You mentioned playing for the Springboks. You did so on so many occasions, such great success, and that leads rather nicely into our second wine today, which is the Patriot. I know your dad is an enormously proud South African, and this is a wine that he's thrown together to celebrate South Africa. There's a hefty dose of pinotage in this, making it a Cape blend, and I guess that was the idea behind this one, just paying tribute to South African heritage.
Yeah, so the name Patriot, or in Afrikaans Patriot, is just being fond of what you've got. And obviously, for us, it's quite obvious that we're fond of what we've got there. Not only that, the people that work for us and the wine we produce off the back of it, it's pinotage based, which obviously only South African cultivar. And then we've got Grenache, we've got Cab Sauvignon, and then we've also got one named after most of our wives called Malbec, as I mentioned earlier. Just joking, my wife's about to run in from the side here. But this is like old school meet new school. I like it. It's a nice blend. It always got that, it's got the ability to, sort of bring the best out of all the wines in it. For me, on the nose, if you go, it's a bit different to the Cab, where that was like more darker fruits, more riper fruits. This is more cherry on the nose, maybe more raspberry. And we go on and have a little sip of it. Where the Cab probably had more soft tannins, this has probably got more polished tannins, but it's a little bit more noticeable. And then you've always got that element of, dark chocolate, cinnamon. You can taste, there's a pinotage base to it. So a great wine, I think.
Yeah, the pinotage base comes through really nicely, but there's also a freshness with that Grenache that just lifts it and gives it a different dimension to what a straight pinotage would otherwise be.
100%. It always sometimes afterwards it feels like it's a bit of fruit infused dark chocolate or something you're tasting, which is different.
A great example of a Cape blend of a South African star. You spent a lot of time with South African stars on and off the field around the world. We often talk about another shared passion of ours, which is golf. And I'm sure at some event we've done, I've asked you to put together your dream four-ball of fellow rugby players. But what about the dream dinner party? Who are the 3 rugby players you're bringing along to have a night of good red wine with? Who are the other wine fundies who you played with?
Look, there's many we can pick from. Obviously, some of them don't go every day. They go once off. And when they go, they're amazing. But you want someone that's there, that's sustainable. You want someone who can go with you most nights. So I go for John de Villiers. He's a bit irritating, but okay, we can deal with him. He was my roommate for a long, long time. I probably spent more time with him through my life than I did with my wife. I'll go for Butchie James because, with Butchie, there's probably a little bit more intent. He really does enjoy getting himself out there, and I think his rugby sort of, encapsulated that. And then I think we've got to get someone older in the house, someone who's got a passion for it. So I wouldn't mind, bouncing it off, Jan Boland and Sia maybe, getting an old flank in. So we obviously got some bats, and we equal it out, and then I don't have to really tag team with Jan Boland. I think he's got the backs covered, even though he leads them in age by 30 years.
And of course, a fabulous winemaker himself, and someone you probably would have been inspired by as a kid, as your career took off. It's still an amazing career, and when we look back at everything you did, a World Cup win, a World Player of the Year, the Laureus World Comeback Award, plus all the games you won, it combines for this legend of Schalk Burger, and it's been celebrated in many ways. One of those is our third wine today. And this is the one when I mentioned on social media I was going to be doing this, there was much excitement because this wine is a favorite of many. And I can only show it to you briefly because I can't hold it up for more than about 30 seconds. I think it weighs more than Geo Aplon, this bottle. It is the number 6 from Schalk, and this must be really cool when you look at something like this. Yes, you've got all manner of accolades, but to have a wine that is specifically in tribute to you and what you did as a rugby player, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It obviously helps that your dad's got a wine farm and we can go through this whole project. But it's not only about me, obviously my dad played number 6, albeit, give and take, and for the honesty of the sake of a good story, let's not debate the honesty there, or like give and take 30 plus kilograms ago. And my brother also played provincial rugby about 10 kilograms ago. So it's awesome. There's 6 cultivars in there. We only make 6 barrels from it. It's 1,776 bottles of it. So the 6 cultivars in a Syrah-based Pinotage, Cinsault, Carignac, Grenache, and Viognier. And I guess, this shows what you can do if you don't have any, it's the ultimate expression of our farm when you don't have any time or, financial constraints. So it's an awesome product, and we don't drink this every day, as you know, so we must enjoy it.
I'm interested in terms of it, the six varietals add nicely to the story. The number six you and your dad had on your back, and Tian as well. But what about the style of the wine? How much say did you have in creating this wine?
Well, I think the unique thing about our farm is we've got so many options. You know, we've got 14 different cultivars on the farm. So like the wine will change and evolve as we go. And it's a complete artisanal product, which is the nice thing. You know, it's all handcrafted on the farm. You know, the wine goes into second fill oak barrels for 18 months, whereupon the blend gets formed, and then it goes back in for further months, so that this, you know, all the flavors can blend, and then you come up with a product. But you know, the unique thing about wine is like every year is different. You know, the vintage is different, the weather is different. You know, it changes all the time, and we're just trying to make a product that, you know, you can relate to. So this is 2016. I'll speak a bit about the wine, and then we can taste it and enjoy it, and maybe speak a bit further about it. But it's definitely a bit different to the others. You know, we taste cranberry, maybe mango, and then from the oak, through the oak, we'll taste some spices, maybe some meat flavors. And it's got tight tannin. It's a wine that's made to last. You know, and I think, you know, every time when you attack a project like the number six, you know, you've got to make something that's going to stand the test of times. And these wines, you know, they evolve through the years. You know, they'll go through good phases, and they evolve a bit, and they'll go through phases we don't think they're at their best. But that's a project we do, and it's limited numbers thing. And as I mentioned, we don't drink it every day, so when we drink it, we might as well enjoy it.
Well, I'm going to do exactly that. I haven't had any of this in, I think since the last time I was dancing your dad on the farm. So I'm very excited to give it a crack. I just want to check quickly the bottle I have here, 2016, but the kind of bottle that really 2016 could take you through the next 15, 20 years happily.
Yeah, that's the whole idea about it. You know, it's I think in modern day time, you know, everyone's under pressure. Also, the way we live, we want to have instant gratification. You know, but this is a different type of product. You know, this artisanal product. Everyone is a hands-in involved. Even the punch downs is done by hand labor. So it's, you know, it's something you really fall in love with. And as I mentioned, it's a great wine, it's a great product for us. But it's also like a niche product. You know, not every single wine can be made like this, unfortunately. I think if you had limitless time and budget, this is the way you would make my wine.
Of course, you do leave out one fact, which is that the number six also refers to the burgers normally being happiest when they reach their sixth bottle of wine on any particular night. So this one ticks that box well. There's some sort of fantastic, there's almost like a pomegranate to this. It's a really different fruitiness to it, but one that I sense is going to evolve a lot more as it gets older and just changes a little in character.
100%. I remember when we launched number six, like one of our mates came up and said, listen, yeah, why is it number six? Every time I watch you play, you're upside down in the bottom of a ruck. So you should have just called it number nine. And then one of my other friends like, why don't you put the two together and make it number 69? And obviously that didn't go down too well with my old man. So we skipped the 69, left it at number six.
It's very clear from talking to you that not only do you have a great passion for wine, but also a great deal of knowledge, a great deal of understanding. Was there ever any thought of post-rugby career moving a little more seriously into the wine world?
I think no, but like what you do is like you just appreciate it more. So I think where I'm obviously very privileged to be is like obviously my parents got a wine farm, but I'm at an arm's length. But like I really enjoy the product, and I think what it does create me or give me is like it creates a little space where I can operate in, where I'm, you know, at an arm's length. It's not every day's job, but I love drinking the wine, and I think I like consuming it more than actually the people at the farm. You know, because for them they've got to draw a salary from it. At the moment, I'm just at arm's length, enjoying drinking it, going to the farm, you know, lapping up what is happening there. So I've really, you know, I've grown into my wines as well. And as you grow older, you know, things change. You start exploring, as I mentioned earlier. I'm very, you know, I like at the moment exploring new types of wine, you know, where, you know, certain times for your life, you sort of stick to the same type of things, you know. So I really enjoy the whole wine process. And as I mentioned, you know, I just try and declutter all of it and just enjoy it for what it is. And it's a lovely thing.
Well, I know you do enjoy that sense of adventure to wine, and we're long overdue a dinner up here. I think lockdown cut off when we had planned with our mutual friend Zama Siliga. So when you do get up, I've got some really interesting Greek varietals to let you run through, and we can have some wine up here. and it's a trip you'll be making with the work you do for Supersport, and people who've been watching you. You've found a real happy space there, I think, and something you enjoy doing. What about the rest of the Schalk Burger story, though? What else is on the horizon now that, unlike Schalk Brits, you have retired and are not planning to come out of retirement 11 times in the next 4 years?
Yeah, look, I'm taking it pretty easy. I think obviously, lockdown has taken this, the wind out of most of our sales. I'm involved with punditry, as you mentioned, which is quite nice because you still stay at arm's length of the game. I enjoy watching rugby still. Beyond that, like me and John started a little talk show called Use It or Lose It. And it's just pretty much for us to have fun, call on a few old mates, get them in studio, try and tell some different stories, what happened on tour, some experiences we shared together. And then lastly, you mentioned him earlier, Zama Ziliga. I've joined him in his property business. So I'm trying to keep busy, trying to keep myself out of mischief. But I think, above all, it also gives you a chance to reflect on your career. I think a lot of rugby players, while you're playing, you don't really get an opportunity to really think back at the friendship you've made. What have you done? What have you achieved? That's nice. And then, what rugby does take away from you is a lot of your hobbies, stuff you used to be good at, like cycling and surfing and playing guitar and organizing bachelors and organizing parties, and those things I'm looking forward to, just to be back normal. I spent the last 5 years traveling. I'm back in my own house, and then on top of that, I've got 2 boys and I've got a wife, so you've got to keep them happy. You know the story, Dan. As a man who's normally very busy traveling, now we've got a forced opportunity to give back and spend some time with them, which is lovely.
We do indeed. It's been a very rewarding side to an otherwise challenging last few months. In closing, I'll ask you to draw from some of the reflection that I'm sure you've done. I think we've all had the chance to look back with a bit of nostalgia on our assorted adventures through life. And I'm a firm believer that the best wine that we have is not just the wine itself, but it's the context in which we drink that wine, where we have it, why we're having it, who we are having it with. I get asked that question a lot. What's the best bottle you've ever had? And it always comes down to the people I've had that wine with, or the place that I've had it. So if I were to ask you to look back over the life of Schalk Burger, is there a bottle of wine that stands out as much for the occasion and the people you had it with as for the wine itself?
Yes, I would say, and like on top of that, a lot of people get a great wine or get given a great wine and they never drink it. And like a full bottle has never got a story to tell, but an empty bottle has always got a story to tell. Keep the bottle at least. But the first one is like we won in 2002. We won under 20 Junior World Cup with Jake White, and we beat the All Blacks, their glory generation. I won't bore you with the names, but we beat them at Brow in the semi-final, and then beat the Australian glory generation in the final at Ellis Park. And the first night was a bit of a blur. Everyone's celebrating too hard, but then the next day, us Cape Townians, we only flew back, the following morning, so the whole day there to spend. And that same day, actually, the Springboks played Argentina at Springs. So we actually took a bus, went to watch the Springboks play Argentina, got back to the hotel. We stayed in Catherine Street in Joburg. It used to be those suites, this hotel in suites or something. It's changed now, its name. And that was like the first proper celebration I had on red wine with a bunch of rugby mates. 1 year out of school, and it lasted for ages. And Zama Ziliga was there, John de Villiers was there, obviously myself was there, Francis Swart. Unfortunately, he passed away in a car accident, but he was there. And we basically just sat down. We had what was an early supper, a late supper, and breakfast at the hotel. This the hotel dining room. They didn't remove us. We just sat there. We drank red wine for breakfast. And that was probably set the tone for how big wins were celebrated after that.
And that is how all great stories are told, with empty bottles, as you say so eloquently. Schalk, it's been an absolute pleasure spending some time with you. It's been a pleasure spending time with the Burger family. There is a very fixed rule that if you go and have a glass of wine at Welbedacht, just make sure you don't have anything to do for the next 3 days, because you're probably not going to be in play for much of that. But the wine is as good as the family is welcoming, and it's always a delight to spend time with any of you. So thank you. Raise a glass again, as all of South Africa does, to this wonderful, wonderful career that you've had, and to do so with your wine in particular makes it extra special. So Schalk Burger, a very big thank you.
Thanks very much, Dan. Thank you.
So there we go, wrapping up with the number 6, a wine rarity. You don't find a lot of it. When you do, grab hold of it, keep it, and then drink it, because as Schalk says, there's no point in storing all of those full bottles. A very special episode this week of Dan Really Likes Wine, with not just a great rugby player, but a very passionate wine drinker and a great, great South African. So that is Dan Really Likes Wine with Pick and Pay for this week. Look out later this week for more of our live tastings, including Miles Mossop, as well as the High Road. And we throw forward over the next couple of weeks, we've got some great stuff to look forward to, including wine in China, as we catch up with wines of South Africa, a long way from home. And we look at Ian Nadir, the man who was Ibn Sadi's mentor. And if you're drinking wine this weekend, as I hope you are, don't just make sure it's South African, make sure it's Chenin Blanc on Saturday, because Saturday is Chenin Blanc Day. Hashtag drink Chenin, get some great South African wine in you. Thanks for joining us. A big, big thank you to Schalk Burger. We'll see you again soon. Cheers.